process for a no-fault eviction or a Section 21 notice is fairly straightforward. There are rules around when a notice can be served, but quite simply it's the form used to evict a tenant where there is no fault involved. So neither landlord nor tenant have breached the terms of the tenancy agreement in any way, shape or form. It's just that the landlord would like their property back and no fault is attached to the tenant. It's done via a Section 21 notice, and landlords need to be really careful that they've applied the Deregulation Act rules to the start of the tenancy, because they'll find serving a Section 21 notice when they want to really hard if they haven't. That's where you rely on your letting agent or your landlord being very knowledgeable and knowing exactly what they need to do to comply with the law. A Section 8 notice is served where there is fault, and a landlord may serve a Section 8 notice for breach of the tenancy agreement, most commonly arrears. So if a tenant falls into arrears, a letting agent or landlord may serve a Section 8 notice which will go to a judge, and a judge will determine whether the ground used is a discretionary ground or a mandatory ground. If it's a mandatory ground, the judge must grant possession back to the landlord. If it's a discretionary ground, as it says on the tin, it's at the discretion of the judge whether he grants permission for the landlord to take his property back. The most common grounds in a Section 8 notice are for rent arrears or late payment of rent, by far and away the most common reasons for serving a Section 8 notice. There are grounds that are mandatory and there are grounds that are discretionary, and that refers to the decision that the judge has to make when the case goes to court. The mandatory grounds, including rent arrears, the judge has no choice. He has to give possession back to the landlord. Discretionary is obviously up to him. And there are all sorts of grounds covering things like the death of a tenant, illegal activity in the property, antisocial behaviour, all sorts of grounds that could be served that might be at the discretion of the judge.